bachelor for life.
And a baby son.
Baby son is joining me today. Got a knife review here on the Willumson Urban Tactical, made by Lansky. I've got two of the World Legal set. The first one here is the Urban Tactical Hawk Blade. Features the 9CR18 MOV steel. Both of these are made by Lansky. You can get them, I think their Lansky website sells them for anywhere between $25 to $35. So it's more of an inexpensive, budget-friendly knife. 9CR18 MOV on this one as well. The biggest difference between these two, the one on the right has the metal liners, so it's a little bit reinforced as far as, you know, how heavy duty the actual handle is. This one I've carried. I carried it for quite some time. This one, there are no liners. It's just the plastic scales, and then it's got a rubber inlay, which is kind of nice. They do feature left or right hand carry on this one. This one has the tip up, tip down, left or right hand, and it's just a single flathead. So World Legal, the reason they call them World Legal, Lansky and Willumson did a collaboration set. They did a few things. They shortened the blade to 2.5 inch. Also, they feature a slip joint lock, and it's two hand open, two hand close. There's no thumb stud, there's no finger hole, there's no button for deployment, nothing like that. So essentially they're quote-unquote world legal because of those factors. There's countries all over the world that have some pretty strict knife laws, and these knives are supposed to be world legal, which most of those countries have, you know, some of the strictest laws, and this kind of allows them to sneak in underneath like a utility style, not a tactical or self-defense or anything like that. With that being said, I'm going to go through a couple of things on why I think that it's great that these are legal and it gives other people opportunities to have knives. But some of the number one thing that I would say, reason that I would steer away from something like this in a tactical scenario or self-defense is the slip joint. Just a lot of people will put pressure on the back of the knife while they're cutting, and you kind of see how that blade just pushes forward. Because really the only thing that's holding it is that slip joint. You know, it's like a lockback, but there's no button to press or depress or whatever to activate or unlock it. It's just held together with the slip joint. You can't really see it there, but it just pushes that back out of that spine out of the way and rolls forward, similar to a lockback. The same thing with the Hawkbill version. It's just a slip joint. Now, the reason I'm glad that Baby Son's here is these.
Because they're not stabby.
Exactly, they're not stabby. These knives are specifically intended for cutting and work purposes with a tactical look and feel. If you were to stab something with one of these, you run the risk of the blade collapsing on you. Just pushing on the table with the blade in the ground, it tries to roll forward and close on you. Now, if you were holding that like this, it would chop your fingers off if it was sharp. Now, I've had that happen to me. I was wearing gloves. The job that I had, I cut a lot of boxes. I stripped a lot of wire. I used it a lot. The cutting motion that forces you to use is the cut away from yourself. It also forces you to keep your hand off the blade and put your thumb on the spine, not on the blade. Now, they put jimping there, right on the back of the blade. or in the spine of the blade. So you'd think, oh, I can put my finger there. I can assure you it's not the best place to put it. Now this knife in a reverse grip, it feels pretty good. It's not even, the hawkbill's not meant for stabbing, as it were. So in a self-defense or, you know, quote-unquote tactical situation, this knife would be better than the base model. But for overall work use, this is the knife you want. With those steel liners in there, this thing is a tank. I never really found a reason for carrying this one. I have plenty of knives that are much easier and safer to open and close that I can do one-handed. So with all that being said, the lack of stabbiness, let's do some cutting tests. I think we'll start off with some paracord first off. Yeah, I'll pull a board out so I don't cut my table. Hate to cover up that beautiful American flag there, though.
That's good, but it's for a good cause.
It's for a good cause. We're going to do some cutting. So first thing I'm going to do is just going to do some push cutting. Now with this blade here, I've done a little bit of sharpening on it. One of the things, this blade has spots that are great for cutting, like push cutting, or if you slap cutting something. The belly of the blade right here, if you can kind of tell, it curves up, down, and then back up again, and has kind of a wicked hook when you first get it right at the tip. So it's really good for cutting tape and things like that. Now the blade is kind of thick, and when you go to chop, if you chop with this portion right here, really smooth, easy to chop, no biggie, right? If you try to come back closer to the handle, it hits right here and you can't even touch. So push cut there's a little tough, the angle of the blade, but right in that belly you can easily cut. And because of the design of the handle, it feels really good. It's got some rough jimping up here, but they're big enough that it doesn't really cut in. You can kind of wedge your thumb into there. The one thing that I've been guilty of is choking up and putting my thumb up here to do some really fine cutting. And once that slip joint gets past that point of no return, it does lock there and kind of catch. But if you're really putting some pressure, or you were using it in a nefarious way, you could definitely injure yourself. So as far as paracord goes, the belly of the knife cuts really, really well. The blade steel on this, if I had to compare it to other knives that I've used, it's very comparable to like MTEX 440, or even Buck's 420 HC.
See, sir.
So this one, obviously not going to be able to do a push cut, and this one's factory sharp. The other one I have sharpened. This one's factory sharp. Obviously not going to be able to push cut with that. So we'll just do some little pull cuts here. And obviously being made by a knife sharpening company, out of the box these things come pretty sharp. What I like about this one is the angle of the blade. That hawkbill gives you, or it kind of gives you the ability to just kind of push, and it rolls right up the blade, so it cuts really smooth. Do some more choppies with these. I can't leave these guys so long, it doesn't feel right. I'll just cut it. So what do you think, baby son?
I mean, it's really good at cutting, but the only problem is it won't stabby stab.
It won't stabby stab. That's alright. We're going to show all the good things that they can do. Next thing I got here is a plastic bag. A little Ziploc style bag.
I already opened it a little bit.
I see that. I see. It looks like you got stabby on that. Did you get
use my
stabby?
fingers.
You used your fingers to stabby it?
Yes, my fingers are stabby. That's why I like stabby.
So cuts the plastic fairly easily. That is a thicker blade, so it's not like a fillet knife. Now this one's just a hair thinner. Having a little bit of trouble cutting that. Let's try flipping it. Yeah, it'll cut it. You just got to get the right angle. This one could probably use some sharpening, but honestly, we'll show you some of the cool things that it can do with the grind that it already has on there. Alright, let's move on. What do we got? So this got some foam.
Should we do this though?
Oh, you want to do that first? Okay, we got some trimmer cord, and we're going with some heavier duty cord than that
D-wall.
than the DeWalt stuff. This
Bad.
is pretty thick stuff, so I wanted to kind of show the chopping power of this guy right here. Using that belly. So obviously chops really well, and it doesn't affect the blade at all. It is pretty heavy. It's pretty heavy duty steel. It is an inexpensive steel, but you'll notice I do have to kind of press hard. See the mark on my hand. But that jimping, yeah, the jimping kind of catches your hand while you're pushing down, which it gives you a really good grip. The knife does not slip, which for a work knife you don't want a knife to slip. Here again we'll do a little slide cut. It's going to be a little bit more difficult. Get a good grip on it here. But cuts it fairly easily, pretty cleanly. So.
Well, some kind of said that you can't play that music.
Yeah.
There in that last one.
Yeah. Did you like that? My undertone soothing voice.
Yes.
I'm sure there's lots of people out there that enjoyed it. If you didn't catch that, I got a copyright claim on the last video. I played a snippet of some music when I was speeding through some of the cutting, and got a copyright claim. So I wanted to upload last night, so I just quickly did a little voiceover on it.
But voiceovers aren't that bad, depending on like what you're gonna say, just to make it so you don't get certain copyright claims.
Yeah, I thought it was funny.
Yes.
So we got some foam here. This is some of that like floor mat stuff that you use in kids' rooms or in a tool room, kind of cushion your step if you're standing a lot. This is actually, it's not super hard to cut, but the foam does kind of catch the blade. If it's not sharp, it catches. So do a couple of different cuts here. It obviously drags through it just fine. Trying to hold it, and got to get the right angle. I'm not cutting my finger off. So kind of drags through it. What I really like about this knife is the shape of that blade, that point where it kind of points down. You don't really have to put much pressure, it just grabs and cuts. The hook. This one does do a little bit better, you know, kind of slice cutting it. And then obviously that hook, because of the way that hawkbill's shaped, it just, as you drag it across, you really don't have to put much pressure. And it just kind of cuts it there. Obviously you're going to wear the tip down quick. I feel like most of this blade you're probably not going to use, but I've got a task that you will use it for. Let's see how this goes. Got some old...
Didn't you say you wanted that for last?
Oh, well, I was going to use the cardboard, but you're playing with it. Okay, let's do a little cardboard.
Just trying to...
Something to do with the hawk.
The anger away, because you can't do stabby.
So it cuts cardboard really well.
I made it a little damp.
Yeah. So let's check this guy. The hawkbill kind of catches it and cuts it really smoothly. This little like ASMR cutting on it. I should do that voice while I cut. The soothing voice. So, all right. So it cuts, obviously.
But will it cut a full-fledged box?
Will it cut a full-fledged box? Let me check. He's gonna finish cutting this bad boy up.
It's
Boy.
stabby.
Yeah. Well,
Except don't
now we're gonna do the stabby. We'll see what happens when we stabby. I actually don't want to put my hand on this, so I'm gonna grab a glove.
Grab your iconic gloves.
Grab the iconic gloves.
Or iconic glove, because it's only one glove.
So we'll do stabby. Put a board in there. Kind of show you what happens. If you were to try to do a reverse grip stab, it will puncture. But I don't know if you can see this in the video. But see, the blade tries to rock back. So if you hit anything hard, the blade actually tries to close on your hands. I'll try to do that without this. Yep, there we go. So that's why I had the glove on. See, it closed on my finger. Obviously not meant for stabbing. But for work purposes, it does work very, very well. One of the things that I do cut quite often is wire. All I've got here is some coax cable. So what we'll do is we'll cut some of this up. One of the first things that a lot of people have to do is they have to strip wire.
This is more like a knife review and a destruction review.
Well, yeah, I don't want to destroy the knife. So just spinning it around. Obviously cuts the rubber very, very well. You can strip that.
Also, basically, you just have to cut off all of the other parts,
and then it will.
Wait, that's DeWalt.
DeWalt.
It's literally DeWalt power cord.
DeWalt power cord. So it is a heavy blade. So what I'm going to show you here now, this is the destruction portion of it. Trying to cut through the coax cable. Will it kind of chunk that blade or not? So instead of pushing here, I'm just going to give it some choppies and see what happens.
Now, see, it won't cut.
It doesn't cut, but see what it does to the blade. I don't know if you can see that or not.
It's kind of like not shimmering anymore.
Yep, you can kind of see the little chisels out of it. It's kind of rolled the steel a little bit. So look a little bit closer to that. See how that kind of rolled the steel? So if you're cutting a box and you hit one of them staples, it will dull the knife out quickly. But for stripping, it does a really good job of that. Because of the curve right here in the blade, you can really get it in there and just kind of spin it right around. So for that purpose, it does work well. Now, is it strong enough to chop through the wire? No. Do I have knives that can? Yes. Let's try the hawkbill. So this one works really well for stripping the wire because of the curve of the blade.
That looks like a karambit that we already
It is karambit style, yeah. That one actually strips really easy because, like I said, because of the curve of the blade.
Don't know what that noise was.
Oh, that's the end of the whole cord there. And obviously, get that out of the way so I can see a little bit better. Now, I can't really do the choppy chop test, but what that's supposed to simulate is when I'm cutting through the wire, you know, trying to cut through that wire is, you know, if you hit something tough, something metal,
it'll try to cut, but it won't cut.
It'll try to cut and it'll make some divots. It didn't really do a whole lot. You can see when I was cutting with the other one, it made some divots. So
tiny you could barely see on a camera.
Yeah. As far as choppy, this one just cutting the wire, you can see where it kind of rolled the steel a little bit right there, and you can feel it on the finger. So now it is tough. It'll do it a couple of times. I have used this in a pinch to kind of cut through some. See that? But it does roll the steel. So just a heads up on that. Now, how often you're actually going to be trying to cut through wire? Probably not often. Some of the wood here, I've got a little chunk of wood that I've been chopping on. Obviously the karambit style.
Would easily cut.
Yep. The design of that blade kind of allows you to plow right through the wood, which doesn't affect the blade at all. It seems to only be when you hit metal and things like that. Anything that's harder than it. Alright, then with the original version. Also cuts well. With that jimping on the back, you get a really good grip.
Not very cutty.
I'm a big fan of the hawkbill style, the karambit style. But this knife is a workhorse. Did a lot of work with this guy right here. So we cut up some wood, cut up some wire. What else do we got? Anything that we want to cut?
Nope, that's it.
Alright. Well, thanks for watching. Hope you liked it. If you have any suggestions for the next video or comments on this one, please make them below. Let me and Baby Son know how we're doing. Baby Son?
Like, share, comment, subscribe. Bachelor for life, and Baby Son out.